I stared at my phone as her message blinked on the screen. Don't be mad. I lent your camera to my ex for his event. I said nothing. Just okay, simple, controlled, calm. Could almost hear the gasp in her voice when she realized I hadn't erupted. She thought I was blind. She thought I was weak. She thought I'd never notice. But I had noticed. I had been noticing for weeks. The camera wasn't just a piece of equipment, it was insured. Registered and fitted with GPS tracking. A professional rig. A tool I'd spent years building into my identity, my livelihood, my pride. And now she handed it to the one man I had warned her about. I let it go, for now. I remember when we first met, almost 5 years ago. She had that laugh that made the world feel lighter. I was reckless with ambition, eager to capture life in perfect frames. She was there, always encouraging, always present. I trusted her. We built a life in quiet confidence. I thought we were invincible. I thought love could survive anything. Until she reminded me just how fragile it all was. It started subtly. The late-night texts. The way she smiled at her phone instead of me. The sudden excuses when I wanted to go somewhere together. I noticed patterns, small shifts, the kind that make you see the truth in pieces. And then the camera. I discovered it when the pawn shop called me. A discreet alert pinged my phone. Attempted sale of insured item. The GPS confirmed location. He was there trying to sell my camera. My pulse didn't spike. My hands didn't shake. I let them do it. Let the authorities intervene. I knew her type. Careless, entitled, thinking the world would bend to her whims. I had to plan, not react. Revenge wasn't about anger. It was about precision. About justice delivered cold, efficient, undeniable. I began by quietly confirming the pawn shop's insurance protocols. Checked local regulations. Ensured the authorities would be alerted the instant he touched the device. I didn't text her. I didn't yell. I observed. I waited. Meanwhile, I built the narrative. I documented her lending the camera, the messages, the GPS timestamps. Every step was logged. Every detail would be evidence, not just for law enforcement, but for the psychological unraveling I had planned. He walked in thinking it was a routine transaction. He didn't notice the subtle glint of authority waiting. The silent surveillance cameras, the instant alert that had already summoned intervention. He thought he was clever. When the shop called me, I said nothing that could betray my emotions. Calmly, I confirmed, "Yes, that's my camera." Then I hung up. The authorities arrived. He panicked, flailed, tried to bargain. I watched from a distance, unseen. The look on his face when the weight of the law hit him. It was exquisite. Justice wasn't loud. It was inevitable. And then her realization. She came home later that evening, expecting casual forgiveness. I met her gaze, steady, unyielding. Her eyes flickered. Confusion, fear, shame. The subtle quiver in her hands betrayed the panic she tried to mask. I didn't think, she began, but I cut her off. Didn't think I'd notice? I asked. My voice was calm, but there was an edge she hadn't heard before. Didn't think there were consequences? She stared. The gravity of her mistake pressed down like a hammer. She understood now. This wasn't about anger. This wasn't about yelling or crying. This was about being outmaneuvered, exposed, and accountable. I didn't need to explain the GPS, the insurance, the police. She saw it in my eyes. The silent knowledge that I had controlled every variable. That her betrayal had been cataloged, tracked, and undone. She had lent my trust to a stranger, and it had cost her. I let her linger in that realization. No tears, no begging. Just truth. Afterwards, I walked through the apartment, empty in its quiet aftermath. I handled the camera, checked its settings, made sure everything was intact. The weight of it in my hands felt heavier than any emotional burden she had imposed. I knew I had regained control, not just of property, but of my own dignity. I reflected on it all as I watched the sun set through the window. Betrayal had been deliciously transparent. Revenge had been methodical. The emotional high of witnessing accountability was not fleeting. It was deep, satisfying, and precise. She wouldn't forget this. Neither would he, and I didn't need to gloat. Justice doesn't shout. It whispers through the silence left behind. When the wrongdoer realizes they underestimated you, I smiled quietly. The kind of smile reserved for those who have won without losing their composure. Life hadn't ended. Love hadn't triumphed, but truth had. And sometimes that was more than enough. I had been patient. I had been deliberate. and now I was free.